Hello, this is Cho of the Shiny Colors Discord. Welcome to another episode of the Shiny Review. Today we've got two new cards to talk about. We have the new Produce SSR for Rinze, as well as the new Support SSR for Haruki. Now keep in mind that both of these cards are permanent, meaning that you'll be able to get them in the future. There's also technically missions available where you can get a 10 pull on the banner, which is pretty neat. You just need to do 3 true ends, in wing of course, and then you'll have that 10 pull ticket available for the next couple of days, at least until this banner is over, so you still have at least a week to do that. Otherwise, this banner does not have a spark to it. The only way you can guarantee yourself a copy of either card is by doing the paid-only step-up, where you will get one of either Rinze or Haruki on step 4. Now, getting into it, Rinze is a mixed visual and dance unit. Visual at 0 stars, dance by 3 stars. Her visual appeal is a visual 3.5 that raises your memory gauge by 10% and links into a visual 3.0. The dance version of the appeal is a dance 4.5 that raises your memory gauge by 30% and links into a dance 3.0. For her passives, her 1-star passive is a dance visual 50% up if it's turned 2 or earlier and has a 20% chance to activate once. Her 2-star passive is a dance visual 50% up and memory gauge 20% up if you are running the full Hokura lineup. It has a 40% chance to activate twice. Lastly, her 4-star passive is a dance 85% up if you are running the full Hokura lineup and has a 20% chance to activate once. Her total stat uncaps are a plus 250 to visual and a plus 300 to dance. Her memory appeal when maxed out is a dance visual 2.0 that links into a dance visual 2.0. Rinze is fine. Visually, I think this card is very cool. I'm a big fan of the Fess animation, though I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the costume itself, but I think this was a very fun animation to go through. I'll get to it once we are closer to the end of the video, for those who haven't seen it. She serves her purpose of purely being a memory gauge battery for Hokura. Luckily, her best passive is built with a 40% chance, meaning that it will be very easy to proc if you have her in the center position. Her passives are arguably a little worse than the limited dance Rinze, but the added utility from them in regards to the memory gauge boost is much higher and more consistent than the older Rinze card if you want to run her on dance, which was originally a 20% memory gauge boost prior to turn 4 as a singular passive, and the higher memory gauge bonuses on said Rinze, which were 50% bonuses, were tied to having the link appeal, and most of the time there was not really a great chance to use the link appeal for that boost. Overall, I would give this Rinze a B+ to an A- as a unit. She can potentially hold application for Dance Hokura or Visual Hokura if you're in need of memory gauge charging, which will certainly go up in value once they get their first Paracola unit, and needing that overcharge will be pretty tantamount to the playstyle. As a center, I would say she's a C+ to a B-. It's playable, but building for it is not particularly fun, and scaling with it is going to be relatively difficult. So unless you are really dedicated to the idea of her being a dual stat unit, just focus on the fact that she is a pretty good support for dance or visual, and has some nice memory gauge bonuses, especially if you are building for dance. Next then, of course, we have Haruki, who is a pure dance support. Her unique support skills include Dance Mastery SP, reaching plus 16 at level 80, plus 12 at level 70, plus 6 at level 30. Unit Mastery Stamina, reaching plus 3 at level 65, otherwise plus 2 at level 55. And Unit Mastery Dance, which reaches plus 12 at level 75, plus 6 at level 65, or plus 4 at level 60. If you are looking for a place to stop in terms of the masteries, 1 star is pretty good just because you max out her stamina, which is probably the most important stat for her if you're building her within Cometic. The SP Mastery is good, obviously at higher levels, but is a little less impactful in modes like Step, where SP scaling supports are much worse than they are in any other game mode. And the same honestly goes for her Unit Mastery Dance bonus. It's a thing that's nice to have in other modes, but isn't necessarily very good for Step. So do keep that in mind depending on where you are trying to build this card. Or rather, build with this card. As for the rest of what she does, her appeal is a Dance 3.0 that grants you 1 mulligan and has a change appeal if Haruki is on your team, which is a 25% dance buff for 2 turns. For her passives, she only really has 1. She has a dance 90% up if 3 or more Cometic members are in your skill history, and has a 20% chance to activate twice. She does have the return of an event passive, which is just a dance 50%, but at this point in time, 50% passives are a little rough and maybe not necessarily the most important to use. First stat uncaps are here. As we can see, this adds up to 200. Haruki is okay, but nothing too crazy. Her 4-star appeal is neat in concept, but it doesn't quite do enough to warrant a slot on Dance Comedic outside of the mastery bonuses as a card in general. And even then, you don't really have a lot of options for that right now, as there aren't a ton of comedic supports in the first place, let alone for Dance. So this is more of a long-term investment permanent SSR, which is strange. Only because most of the time you're building around the limited SSRs, which means we realistically should be looking for a Hana or Luca support for Dance that then complements the Haruki, or the other way around, depending on how you want to look at it. I would give this Haruki a B- to a B+. She can certainly be used, and I think she will get a little bit better over time, but really this card only has one passive that is locked to Comedic, and a situational appeal that is locked to using Haruki, which means you're probably just playing Comedic. So unless you are explicitly playing Dance Comedic, you don't have to worry about this support much at all. So, that will do it for the video today. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Next time we'll be talking about whatever banner comes next, so let's look forward to it together. Till the next one, I've been Sho. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.